Hey folks, Traver here with One Day Stronger. Today's a big topic. This is the question that I get asked most often in any interview or with a private client or in any conversation. And it's, what was the deciding factor in me using my divorce or finding out my marriage was over? How come in that moment I decided to go all the way to the right and quit drinking, quit smoking pot, change my job, change my whole life, as opposed to going left and going down the road of numbing more, dissociating, doing anything I could to not feel the pain of that experience. And I want to talk about this because it's an opportunity that everybody has. Everybody who's going through a divorce, who just got broken up with, who just found out their job's over, who has some other kind of trauma. I am not different. I'm not special. I am no different than you are. And so when I found out my wife was leaving, I made a decision. The same decision you can make right now. And that decision was to change my whole life. Now that decision had with it, or on it, the weight of the pain I knew I was going to have to go through. So, if you know you've got a shit ton of pain coming, why not use it? Why not say, okay, I'm already going to be miserable, and changing my life in this way is moderately miserable. Why don't I just put the two together? It's like when guys get multiple prison sentences, like, oh, just do them at the same time. It's like, well, if I'm going to get my ass handed to me by life, I might as well use that ass handing and do some good with it. Now, here's some things to think about. Massive change, transformational change, it doesn't happen here, right? It's not the same mind that I decide what to cook dinner with or balance my checkbook or whatever it may be, that cognitive ability. That's not where real change happens. Real change comes from here, from your heart and your stomach. So real deeply into your body. Which is why when there's trauma, when you find out you're getting divorced one morning, it takes you out of here because it's uncomprehendable or incomprehensible, whatever the word is, and it drops you down here. It did me. And all of a sudden, poof. Okay, my heart's open, my stomach's open. The veil has been pierced. Right? This veil of cognition has been pierced. And now it's, oh man, I'm just thinking from this place. Or just operating from this place. But this is the place where the magic happens. If you try to make change from here, it's like living in a little box, right? We all live in a little box. I can make change within that box. But if I want a whole new box, a whole new set of stories, a whole new life, and I did. I knew I did. And I knew stopping drinking was going to be a big part of that. Because to me, that decision, it was the price. It was the price of entry. The fee of entry, whatever you want to call it, to a life of consciousness. It was one or the other. And I wasn't a big drinker. But I was socially. And I knew if I was bored, I would be drinking. And I knew both in my divorce, I was going to be alone a lot. I was going to be lonely a lot. I was going to be upset a lot. And I knew how easy it would be to pick up that numbing agent. But I knew that would never let me cross over from my old box into this new amazing box of consciousness. And so I used that situation. Haven't had a drink since that day over 2 years ago. Which means every social situation I was in was completely different. No longer could I hide behind a cocktail. Or no longer was I funny after a couple beers. Or no longer was Sunday watching football going to be with a six-pack. So my whole life was going to change. And I would never go back to that old life. So, if you are facing trauma, if you're in the midst of trauma, ask yourself, how can you use it? What big decision do you want to make? What stake are you putting in the ground and saying, no, period, I'm changing this thing about my life? What is that thing that you've battled with for a couple years that you've sort of wishy-washy made change? Is it weight loss? Is it quitting smoking? Is it quitting drinking? Is it not going back to school? Is it not finishing your degree? Is it whatever it is? There are these pivotal times in our life, these windows that get opened. And usually, unfortunately, they're opened by trauma. But when they're open, we get to go through them. But only for a certain amount of time because they close. And then we have to wait how many years until, unfortunately, another one's opened. Or maybe it never opens. And we don't get to make that change. So I viewed my shitty divorce as such a great opportunity. And while that window was open, I wanted to make as much change as physically possible. One, to change the course of my life. And two, so I wouldn't have to wait around for 10, 20 years till another window opened to say, you know what? I wish I'd quit drinking at 40. I wish I'd started meditating at 40. I wish I'd changed my job at 40. I wish I'd started writing publicly at 40. And here I am at 60 or whatever the number is. I wish I had 20 years ago. Like, what's that great saying? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So use the situation you're in. Use it. Don't let it pass. Even if you're in a bad spot, realize that that bad spot is just an opportunity. It's an opening. It's an opening here. It's an opening to make real change. Getting one day stronger is about making decisions like this. Not just here, but here. And being brave enough to live out that decision every single time it gets hard. Every single time. So I told my friends, I'm done drinking. I told my drinking buddies, like, hey, I'm not coming out for beers anymore. I even had people months later say, that was a stupid decision. Come out and have a drink with me. And I didn't. But what that meant was every time I went to a wedding, and I was the only person there, I didn't know anybody, I couldn't hide behind a cocktail. It was hard. Every time I went to a Super Bowl party, I was the only guy who didn't have a beer in his hand. And for a little while it was hard. But I had to get through that. And once I got through that threshold, now it's no issue whatsoever. So make the decision. And then make all the little decisions afterwards that stick to that decision. That's how you get one day stronger. That's how you use the trauma of your life to your benefit.